Hey everyone. So I just watched that new Francis Ford Coppola film in the cinemas in the year of our Lord 2024. It was called Megalopolis, and it was, to put it simply, one of the films of all time. This is a movie which objectively exists. Like, you can watch this. It has actors, it has music, it has visuals, and yeah. Thanks for watching. Okay, but seriously though, Francis Ford Coppola, easily one of the greatest filmmakers to ever live. I mean, just look at his legendary 1970s run. The guy made The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, The Conversation and Apocalypse Now, all in the space of like 7 years, which is a ridiculous stat, and a cinematic achievement which I don't think will ever be paralleled. It's like when Messi scored 91 goals in a calendar year or something. It's just insane. However, since the 70s, I think it would be fair to say that Coppola's career has kind of been on this meandering downwards slope. Sure, he's still come out with acclaimed movies which people like, such as Dracula or Rumblefish, or even The Godfather Parts 3, which, you know, is nowhere near as loved as the first two, but which still has its admirers. But let's be real. Francis Ford Coppola has never even come close to duplicating the quality of something like Apocalypse Now. I mean, even the documentary Eleanor Coppola, his late wife, made about the infamous shooting of Apocalypse Now is seen as better than anything he has made in a very, very long time. So, why is this? Well, look, I don't know the guy personally, but first of all, I think there's definitely something to be said about where one goes after they have hit the peak of their respective artistic fields, if that makes sense. Like, realistically, is the guy who made multiple of the best films ever made still going to be as energetic and passionate about cinema in their 80s, making movies every year? Well, for some directors, yeah, they kind of are. But I feel like for every Martin Scorsese, there are many, many Francis Ford Coppolas, most of whom we just never hear from again. He also has spoken at length about his disdain for major studio filmmaking, preferring to make experimental movies the exact way he wants to make them, and also opening up a bunch of wineries in California, which, I mean, fair play if you're into that stuff. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, for a while, it seemed like Coppola would never make another film. I mean, his last release was 2011's Twixt, and since then it's really seemed like Coppola was happy to simply chill with his millions and his vineyards, and his huge filmmaking family, which from the outside kind of seems like he is the godfather of, you know? It's like poetry, it rhymes. However, now we have Megalopolis, a $120 million movie about a genius architect played by Adam Driver, who wants to turn the fictional city of New Rome into some sort of science fiction utopia. Now, I'd heard about this film for quite a while. It's something Coppola has wanted to make since the late 70s. However, he was never quite able to, due to money problems and 9/11 happening. It's a long story which you can find online easily enough, but basically, the movie was just stuck in development hell for decades, until Coppola basically said, screw it, I'm just gonna self-finance this thing. I'll even sell a few of my wineries to make it happen. Which you have to admit is a pretty ballsy move. Like, $120 million is a lot of money even for someone as successful as Francis Ford Coppola. But the madman actually did it. He actually made the movie. I guess the only real question to ask now is, Megalopolis, is it good? Was it worth the wait? Was it worth the hype? And the honest answer is no. And if you've seen any reviews for this movie or had a look at its score on Letterboxd, you'll know that this film is kind of being slaughtered by both critics and the box office. And as much as I love Francis Ford Coppola, and as excited as I've been for Megalopolis for years now, I completely understand why it's received so much criticism and mockery from so many people. This is not only an incredibly messy, chaotic, and bloated movie, with just wildly inconsistent performances, but it commits, in my opinion, the worst crime a film can commit. It's boring, it's tedious, it never really justifies its own existence, its own legend. For most of the runtime, I was just sat there, staring blankly at the screen, basically just waiting for Aubrey Plaza to show up again, because she is far and away the best thing in this whole film. But make no mistake, this is no so bad it's genius movie, you know? This is no Showgirls or Freddy Got Fingered. No, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes of dull, meandering, allegorical hodgepodge. Like, I'd love to do the standard review where I talk about the plot and the characters and the themes or whatever, but honestly, a film like Megalopolis kind of transcends all of that stuff. It would be pointless for me to try and explain what this movie is about, because it's working on a completely different plane of existence, one which I think only Francis Ford Coppola understands. And it's because of this that, even though I feel like he took 140 minutes of my life I'll never get back, I can't help but begrudgingly respect the man. Because yes, Megalopolis is annoying, pretentious, confusing, egotistical. Yes, it insists upon itself, like many people have noted. Yes, it kind of feels like the biggest budget student film ever made. But I can't deny that watching Megalopolis, watching the result of a legendary director nearing the end of his life, making a film he had always wanted to make, the exact way he always wanted to make it, well, it was a pretty cool experience, one that I might never get to have again. Now, don't get me wrong, I wish Megalopolis was better than it ended up being. I wish it made more money and got better reviews, but honestly, do I think Francis Ford Coppola cares? I mean, maybe? But to be honest, the guy is 85 years old, and I can imagine that regardless of the reaction to this movie, he's sleeping pretty well, knowing he was able to make the film he always wanted to make, even if no one else really got what he was doing. So thank you, Francis Ford Coppola, I guess, and fair play. In fact, Francis, you can be the first ever recipient of the Cozy Kino Show Fair Play Award. Congratulations, sir. You have until the end of the week to collect your trophy.